recording. Okay, so let me just wrap this up. Right, okay, thanks everybody for coming along. 2 of you I saw at the Real Life Witchfest yesterday. Yay! Go Second Life gang. I think Jen, I'm not sure, I don't know if Jen, she's probably still travelling. She's probably going to be late, if at all, I think. But anyway, so, for those of you... Oh! That's okay, that's okay. Right, that just threw me now. Okay, let me just get back on track. The notes for this one will be up on my website at the same time as this audio recording. It's my tradition to do my Second Life, Real Life version of the talk that I did yesterday at the Real Life Witchfest for the first time in Brighton yesterday, and we're going to have another go at it today. It'll be, again, slightly different because, as usual, I don't often follow my notes, but I'm going to give it a try a bit more carefully this time. If you have any sound clipping going on, don't worry, that's probably just me yawning. I've had so little sleep, it's unreal. I am barely awake. So, oh, Angie, I see you can hear. Yes, yay! Thank you, Joy. Okay, so here we go then. So this is a talk of mine on Kemeticism and the joys of Reconstructionism. So, over the past years, and okay, some of you will probably, well, actually, I've done this over the past few years here on the Witchfest Sim as well. I generally, as a whole, talk about visualization, astral magic, altered state, and chaos magic. Now, they are sort of side effects of my primary path, which is Kemeticism. And for those of you here in Second Life, you will definitely make that out because I'm wearing an ancient Egyptian AV costume. So that's fairly obvious. Obviously, I wasn't dressed in a full Egyptian costume at the talk yesterday. That would have been a challenge. Even pushing the boundaries of Brighton. So, but it's something I've wanted to talk about for quite a long time, and generally I've had issues with thank you, Tamora. Yeah, that's just thrown me. Thank you. Okay, Tintin. So, you see, I didn't get quite this heckling yesterday. Oh yes, so I've been wanting to talk about sort of Kemeticism for some time, but been unable to find an angle, mainly because I've sort of been on the edge of Kemeticism for the last 30 years. For those that have followed or even do a little bit of a practice of a Kemetic path, there's a lot of research, there's a lot of material, there's a lot of work involved, and although there are a variety of different places you can go to discuss Kemeticism, and there are some very good Facebook groups, for example, and forums, there tends to be an issue sometimes with noobs, which is not unusual on the internet when you're trying to get some advice, and that some people do fire you down quite quickly. But what people do, and that sort of put me off quite a bit. What also has been a big problem has been the aspect of my goddess. I work with the ancient Egyptian goddess Salket. Just type that. An obscure scorpion goddess very popular in the early dynastic but slowly was assimilated into an aspect of Isis towards the latter end of the period. And so I found it extremely difficult to find other people that work with Salket. In fact, the most people I found has been here on Second Life, and that's probably several, maybe 8 people here, and a few more I've actually found out on Facebook and in real life. So, I've only encountered in the last 30 years maybe a dozen people that work with my goddess, let alone any other aspects of the path. And so, and locally to me, I've been pretty much solitary all my life because, I'm a Kemetic. I've not been able to find other people in real life to talk about it. Within my sort of group that I tend to do a lot of work with, I'm the only Kemetic in the village, which, for those of you not in the UK, you probably won't get that. Yeah, good old Little Britain comedy. So I've kept myself to myself, and I've skirted around the edges of the Kemetic community. Now, there are a number of organisations that I could have gained access to, and the first one I had a look at was the Fellowship of Isis, and they've been established a very long time. But again, I didn't really find value in that for myself, and I didn't really consider it. There's in the US, the Kemetic Orthodoxy, which is I know quite popular, and there's a variety of others scattered around, and some smaller ones that you can look at. So the whole access to the community as a whole has been a bit of a stumbling block. Another aspect to my lack of interest, or, well, not quite interest, but being able to find something to talk about, has been some assumptions. Well, I wouldn't say they're assumptions. They were originally backed up with proper research material about my goddess. She's quite obscure, as I said, and has been rather difficult tracing any material for her. And for the early stages, and this was very early on, I found the following levels of information that sort of sealed my relationship with her and the rest of the Kemetic community. One is that she has no temple space, that she has no festivals, that she has no sacred places. It is a goddess that has sort of lost her history through time and obscurity. So I've just then continuously focused on the connection that I have with her, and that has led into other areas of my path, hence the astral side, and I've talked at length here on Second Life and in real life on these subjects that astral magic has been one of my primary methods of communicating with her, and chaos magic has been a useful feature. And actually, what has prompted this talk, the chaos magic aspect, has been extremely valuable, because it has been a year of change, and these things that I thought true about my goddess have in fact been not lies, and not even misinformation, just things that I have not noticed. Now, whether those things are because I was rubbish in my research, which is quite likely true. My goddess is a rather obscure one to research. There's little material out there, and it's quite tricky, and I'll come on to some of these aspects as we go on reasons why it's been tricky. So yeah, it's been a bit of a revelation time, and being, well, not quite upsetting, but it's questioned a lot about my own path and what I understand about it. So this past year has prompted me to do this talk, and the title of Joys of Reconstructionism, that's sort of a level of sarcasm involved, because there has been stages where I've had to basically start again. So let's begin with some of the areas that I have had to reevaluate. Now, Kemeticism. Kemeticism is, well, we are, now how many of you here, I know some of you got interest, no doubt, because you're here and you're listening, so here in Second Life and in wherever this is on the internet that you're listening to this from once I've actually finished editing it. So now, as a Kemetic, we are lucky, really lucky compared to many other paths. We have huge amounts of material, and not all of it guesswork. A lot of massive amounts of information has been preserved. It has been certainly been a lot of history, artistic practices, mythology, and material just coming out of the ground all the time. Now, this does introduce a few issues. You do get a lot of conflicting information, the multiple creation stories throughout time, and this has been an issue with a sticky point within a lot of forums and places where I can actually deal with yes, he's just throwing me off there. Joy. Yes, we've got somebody just, yeah, thank you. For those listening, because I'm probably not going to edit this bit out, because it's we have someone with difficulty in Second Life here at the moment. It's just throwing me off a bit. But Joy's dealing with it. So yes, we got a lot of information over time, and it constantly is from, we've got the Egyptian documented, pre-dynastic times and before the dynastic times. The information obviously is a little bit more sketchy, but from the foundation, unification, all the way up to pretty much the end of the Roman occupation, we are talking a few thousand, well, 3,000, 2.5, 3,000, maybe more years. And if you consider what's happened to that time span within our own societies, things change. The Egyptians changed. There is, and they noticed this. They had an issue with their calendars, for example, where they were working on 365 days, but missed a quarter day. Then they worked it out that they got to add a few more days every year, but still wasn't quite right. You've got the precession and the twist of the sidereal year kind of stuff going on. So the tilt of the Earth changed enough over time. The astronomical calendars started to get out of sync with the agricultural years, and things just change. And every now and again they realise things aren't quite right. Oh, we'll just readjust our calendars to fit. And so they had issues. That has then knocked on to a lot of other things, such as temples. There's one, and okay, I've already going to go off the path already as far as the notes go, so I'm just going to continue down this route. And of course, anybody here listening, any questions, throw them in. Hopefully not too many, because it will disrupt my flow, but I'll try and go, because the notes, as I said, I'll throw up on the website anyway, and you can probably then read what I really did intend to say, hopefully. As is always the way. Okay, yes, so the material changed, and we had a lot of things going on. So, and I've seen this kind of at the someone has just, now that is actually a good point, and I'm going to come to this very shortly, Mac, about an opinion you get led in the direction we often need to hear, so just roll with it. Yes, now that is a very, very important thing, because within Reconstructionism, and I've just skipped a few paragraphs now, and we'll keep on track. We'll go with this, because this is what I enjoy doing. So yes, this is a huge problem within the Reconstructionism. We are not obviously ancient Egyptians. Our society has changed. Our society is completely different. We have a whole set of different morals and assumptions and legal practice. And this is the other thing, is like, you're talking about a society that existed a long time ago. Things have changed. Some of the things and practices they may have done are probably now illegal in some areas, and possibly rather hazardous to your health in others. For example, I love reading, there's a great book called the Leaden Papyrus, and it's the medical papyrus. I did this yesterday. Just bear with me, I'm really tired. So some of this may not make sense at times. And yes, the Leaden Papyrus is an interesting one, because it details a number of medical diagnosis and cures. And some of those cures, apart from some of them being magic, also include I'm going to do, and you're not going to see this, inverted commas, medical. Now, okay, they did have some very good medical knowledge, I'm not going to knock that, but some of the other remedies were possibly very hazardous. Things like dealing with dung and rubbing it in your face or eating it or whatever. There were some things that were, if you were to try now, you probably would need to go straight to the hospital after using. So there's these things that bring up the question of how far do you go? How far do you get into the spirit of those people? Now, it would be good if you could go as far as you could go, even if you were breaking the law, but just to feel what is going on and how they felt as people. But we can't do everything, and even within our own sort of daily routine, the mere practices of purification, as far as like the temple side goes, you had a sort of two polar opposite ends of the sort of practice. You had the folk magic end, which out in the community. You then had at the other end the full Templar Karnak kind of stuff, the main stuff going on, organised state religion approach. And at that particular sort of state end, where you are in the main temples, the purification rites of complete hair removal because of the lice and so on, the constant bathing, a extreme diet, it does make it very difficult to maintain that in our modern society. Okay, the hygiene level is obviously better, so perhaps you don't need to shave all your hair off. But, you know, again, it's how far do you want to recreate the experience. And of course, then you've also got the added excitement of the costuming and the makeup and the jewelry, and it's a difficult balance. Now, as far as my own practices go, from those of you who've been have heard the astral magic stuff that I've been talking about for the last few years, where I go into a astral form of my sacred space, my temple, into a body that's already purified in the full extent of a Kemetic Reconstructionist approach, then that is what has been with me for many years now. But with the groups that I've been working with in this physical reality, I've sort of started to find a need, not quite a need, but an interest to explore physical practice once again. Because, you know, it is nice, and, you know, I've got loads of lovely statues here in this room that I'm currently in. I'm directly facing my goddess's statue at the moment. That's in a DVD bookcase. I don't have altars. I don't think the Egyptians really were into altar space. They tend to have niches in walls that they put their statues in, and shrines and so on. So my shrines is a DVD bookcase that I've painted black to fill it in, and my main primary deity goddess statue is in there, along with a few other bits. And then I've got a couple of other statues of Isis with the baby Horus and a Bastet statue, and behind me, or just to my right, is the awesome Thoth statue that I have. It's like almost a foot high, and the real cool dude, that is Anubis, sat right beside him at his feet, which is a awesome statue. Yay, Anubis. I've also got a Lego keyring Anubis that I have with me all the time, because Anubis is cool. So yeah, it is nice to have these things. So I like to have an attempt to do some physical practice. So as far as superheroes and ninjas, that's all right, you know. Some of you who are listening outside of Second Life, then, you know, you need to come on, because we've got a crazy bunch here. So, you know, as far as the physical purification stuff goes in my physical practice, I go towards at least having a shave, you know, facial shave, not everywhere else. You know, that's 3 hours of my life I want back every time or more, you know. And, you know, going out with shaved eyebrows does draw attention. Not that I've tried it. I've only physically appeared once in public in Egyptian costume, and that was when I was at school for a fancy dress, which I won first prize because I was so good. I might one day get the picture. I might actually have the picture upstairs. My parents gave me of that. I might one day put that on the internet. I'll probably regret it. I might do that soon. Actually, I think I've done it once before, and I've got a few R's from it. But anyway, you know, I'm going off the topic again. And other purification rites that I'll obviously do. Probably have a shower before any ritual work, and that's probably common to a lot of paths, whether you're Kemetic or not. And quite importantly, I will brush my teeth. You know, what priests would often use is something called natron salt, and it's quite a sort of a bicarbonate of soda kind of thing. And so I thought, bicarbonate of soda, you've got bicarbonate of soda toothpaste, so that's how I would freshen my mouth. It's the clearing of the mouth part is all about, because you're going to utter words of magic, you're going to speak Heka, And so we haven't got a bath in this house, much to my wife's disappointment. We've only got a shower, so it has to be a shower, and I prefer showers, because I don't really want to have to wait half an hour for a bath to fill, and I want to be in and out. So for me, the most important bit, at least if I just wash my hands and face, if I can't get time to shave, or at least hands and face wash and toothbrush, and before I speak the words of Heka and work my magic. I have fixed temple space, so even physical temple space, so that is generally not quite consecrated, because I don't cast any circles, because I'm Kemetic. We tend not to bother about these kind of things, because that's all sort of later Greeky kind of stuff, so I tend not to worry about that. So there are aspects of Reconstructionism that you can not coerce, but just amend. Now, I haven't quite forgotten the comment earlier that Mac had about I'm coming back to it. I haven't strayed too far. And it comes to this part, and this is the really, really crucial aspect of Kemeticism. As I said at the start, we have a lot of information, and those wonderful archaeologists are digging it out all the time. It does happen, and this is my thing of the past year, that research comes out of the ground that is re-evaluating a particular aspect of the path. So, what do you do when you have some new material presented to you that is in conflict to your current understanding of your practice, of your deity, of whatever aspect of Kemeticism is its concerns? Well, I had this issue. I had it on multiple aspects. And do you ignore it? Do you merge a bit of it and just go with, as Max says, what you feel your best you can basically do, you can cope with, and how your instinct goes? Or do you completely abandon it and start again? Well, depending on the content, you're probably going to do all three of those at some point along the path. It's inevitable with this. We have stuff coming out, and archaeologists will have lost something in the museum for 100 years, find it and say, oh well, now we can piece this together with something else because we now know the whole story. So this happens quite frequently, and it can be very disconcerting. It's also utterly annoying and totally disastrous when it is a fundamental belief. Now, if you recall those things that I said that sort of made me drift away a bit from my Kemetic path into other areas, and that is, my goddess has no temple space, has no festivals, has no sacred land. Well, a year ago, these things started to unravel in a very short space of time for me. First, it all began out of the wonderful EES, the Egypt Exploration Society. It's the main UK archaeological research funding place that the archaeologists tend to go for. It's brilliant. I love it. I've been a member for, since the mid-90s. I've got a huge stack of journals that I adore, and I go to their events, and I really value the stuff because, it's great to hear from new research as it's coming out of the ground. Stuff that's happening, it is really exciting, and they put on lots of events and so on. It's brilliant. So when these, I get a journal. I had my journal renewal last year, and on the form it said, oh, do you want to renew access to JSTOR for a year for £10? I thought, £10 for JSTOR of all the EES back issues. Now, EES have been around for over 150 years. They have obviously got a huge store of articles, of material, and I could access this all for a year for £10. And I thought, on the JSTOR academic network article site. So, you know, yes, please, I shall. So I go thinking, right, I've got access to all this old material. Let me go through my research for my goddess. Now, you know, I said my goddess her name is Salket. Obviously the transliteration is from, the name is from a transliteration of some hieroglyphs, SRQT, yeah. And over the years, and this is another aspect that's really upset me with trying to find stuff about her, is that some of these consonants are transliterated in different ways from the hieroglyphs. So the S at the start is sometimes an S or a C. The R is the same. The Q can be a Q or a K. And the T is the same. Now, obviously the Egyptians didn't involve vowels, so we inject vowels to make the sounds. That also then introduces a huge number of variations. So we have, and I'm going to type this because it's easier for me to count. So we have the basic one, Salket, S-E-L-K-E-T. Well, we could have S-I-R-K-E-T or S-I-R-Q-E-T. You know, there's a lot of different phonetic spellings for this name. Circuit is how it's generally pronounced. So just there, I've got 3 variations. I found 2 or 3 more just going through these archives. And so, you know, I've got well over a dozen variations, which makes research really quite tedious for her because I'm having to type a number of these in and it's just not helpful. And then if somebody gets it slightly wrong, it's yet another one that I probably don't know about. So I find a bit of material, and then I find a few other things that start sort of blowing my entire path apart. And that was there was a temple in a place called Al-Wada, I think, off the top of my head. I need to double check that, but you know, we'll go with that as the option. You know, if you really want to know, just talk to me and I'll probably dig the notes out and get that right. So well, I don't know if you did you hear me say that one yesterday, Joy? I think because I was probably doing the same again there, so yeah, that's probably where you heard it. But anyway, it unfortunately disappeared under the flooding of the Aswan Dam. But they did relocate a temple. Well, that's how it's the Arabic name for it now. The ancients, and I'd already been well aware of it. It appears in the pyramid text as Pisalkis. That's the Greek translation for it. So I thought, Pisalkis, the home, P for home or whatever, place of, Salkis as scorpion. So, you know, some people have said it could be a place that is just well known for scorpions, or it could be dedicated to the goddess. Now, when they moved the temple, which is quite a late period one, I think is dedicated to Thoth or Horus, does actually have a huge number of scorpion reliefs over it, but it was not shown to be a temple space for her. Now they found foundations for Middle Kingdom and slightly earlier, but obviously they didn't get a chance to probably do any excavation work fully because the Aswan Dam was coming up. So they relocated the temple about 100 kilometres away. So now it's underwater. So That was interesting. Not totally blown away by it, because, oh, right, okay, Peace Out Kiss actually did have some reliefs. That's interesting. But no temple space, but possibly could have. What then got me, and this is where the bit from Matt comes in, if you're listening still, instinct. Now, my goddess has always said to me, we can never return home. Now, I always thought that was due to me being completely, well, not scared, but I really hate sand, and I burn real quick. So I thought it was because she doesn't want me to go back, because, it's just not for me. But as it seems to be, is that I can never return home because it's actually underwater. So unless I fancy a bit of swimming, I can't go to her temple space. So, that was a bit of a light bulb moment, and, thinking, oh, instinct there. That's interesting. So a merman. Yep, I could get a towel and go down. I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, and we have a solution, which I won't go into just yet. So that was one, and that was, it didn't rock the boat. Oh, what a bad pun that is. But not earth-shattering for me. What was earth-shattering was that I stumbled upon a festival for my goddess. And now, again, instinct really blew me away on this again. Now, it was actually, I can't remember what triggered the look for a festival, but there was a mention of a festival somewhere in some of the research that I picked up, and it just said, oh, Festival of South Kent. And I thought, what? I didn't know this. Right, then I started really digging, and I found a festival. In fact, I found two. And straight away I noticed there was a problem, because I then back-checked it with various calendars that I've got access to, and found date differences in sync, 13 days between other festival dates that were included on those calendars that were associated there, apart from the My Goddess ones, which I suddenly noticed, which I'd never even thought about looking at before. So it's probably always been under my nose, but I just never twigged. So I think it's actually one date, and due to the 13 days in our calendar in the 1700s, it sort of got duplicated in some ways, depending on how you look at it. So, but what was really earth-shattering on this part was that the date has blew me away. Now, from day one of working with my goddess, I have always had the best connection with her around Samhain, in our 31st of October. Always, from the very start, I felt I am closest to my goddess at that time. And so I always thought, oh, it's Samhain, the vowels are thinning, as we tend to go with up in the Western, in the current pagan world. But it appears my instincts were spot on, because the festival dates that I had was the 23rd of October and the 5th of November, either side of Samhain. Obviously the November date, so that was, oh my goddess, what, wow, this is like monumental thing has just occurred. So for this 5th of November, for the first time in my life, I've actually been able to celebrate my goddess and to honour her on her date that I chose, the November one, as her prime one. I did also the 23rd, but to a lesser, because that's a bit further away from Samhain than the 5th, so I sort of went for the one closest to, even though it was past. But that's still within my sort of safety area that I tend to feel I'm good with. So, you know, it was just mind-blowing, and I celebrated that coincidentally and in a freaky kind of way with my local group, because we had our Samhain thing, because of a strange set of coincidences. I hear the feel of my goddess of prodding these things to happen, that we couldn't do our group ritual on the weekend before Samhain. We had to do it the weekend after, which happened to be on the 5th or 6th of November, so we went for that day, and we all had a meal out before, and it just felt fantastic. So it was a mind-blowing. I've now rediscovered and re-engaged with my Kemetic path, which then, with my newfound archive and material, started really going for it, only to discover then that my goddess appears on the Seti tomb, astronomical ceiling, which I'd never even noticed it was in there before. She appears just sort of lifting up a bit of towel wet in the middle, and she's lying on her side, and she's got the hieroglyphs of her name there. I never thought to look there because I never assumed she would appear on there. So it's triggered a whole new journey into my path, and I'm sort of looking again at every aspect, and this is common. This is totally expected of anybody on a Kemetic path, is that these things happen and you have to deal with them, and you're gonna have a problem at some point that is gonna hurt, and unless you are accepting of it, you may have issues further down the line. And I'm grateful to the priming that I've had through my chaos magic practice, that change is inevitable, and to accept change and to deal with it and to actively embrace it, because in a Kemetic path our experience of change is phenomenal, because this is a constantly occurring thing. So oh crikey, and the time is coming on again. Only 10 minutes left. And just as well, I've still got loads of notes to go, so hey, you can have a lot of reading to do after. So instinct is good, research is good, and being really persistent in your research and just digging, not metaphorical digging, unless you're one of the lucky ones to go out there and actually do some. We have a huge source of material. You're never going to know everything. Oh yeah, okay, are you able to do that, Joy? Or I got it. Okay, I can probably, I'm just going to type the website up. As I said earlier, the notes of my will appear on the website along with this audio recording. Obviously, if you're listening to the audio recording, you have now found the website. So, hey, hello. So, it's a difficult path, and it does try you. It's deeply enjoyable. The Egyptian deities I have personally found to be very demanding in many regards, and practice, they're very abrupt. The dualistic nature, there's perhaps in an hour I can't cover every aspect I feel within Kemetic practice, so this could well be a whole new series I'm going to have to come up with. And I'm going to find joy now of rediscovering my Kemetic path as a newbie, or from scratch. And it means 30 years hasn't been completely wasted. I have a good grounding. I have a lot of knowledge already and experience, and but it sort of underlines the going forward a new journey of greater understanding. And even actually, I was doing this on the way home today, and for the last couple of weeks I've been working on the Kemetic stela. It's in the Metropolitan Museum in the US. It's a beautiful Scipi Horoscipi statue, stela, and there's a tell on there that I've just discovered is actually on there. The stela has been popping up in my research notes for years now, and I've only just got around to it in the last couple of weeks to actually take a look, because it's been bugging me in that amount. But it's just answered another big area of my path that has been a challenge over, well, I don't know, maybe 20 years, 25 years. I've been working with some minions of my goddess, several scorpions. Most of the Egyptian deities have these sort of minions that lurk around, that sort of follow the goddesses around. Isis has serpents, and there's a few others that have their own ones, but obviously my goddess is a goddess of scorpions, so she's got some scorpions that she has served. And there's a tale that I picked up, and I think it was on sacredtext.com, called The Lament of Isis and Nephthys, where my goddess was tricked by the god Seth into stinging the child Horus to kill him, because Seth really didn't like the guy. So my goddess gets tricked into do that. Isis obviously finds out, and she's a little bit upset, and she says, to my goddess, "You're going to give me a hand with this. Let's go and deal it. I'm going to take your minions. They are going to guide me to where he's hiding, and we're going to heal my son, and everything will be alright again." So in this particular tale, the goddess Isis learns the names of these scorpions, and which is obviously in the Egyptian path. To know a name is really to have a lot of power over something. A whole new topic we can go into, but we've got 7 minutes left. We're not going to go down that route. So it's so Isis uses the scorpions to go over, and they're in a very interesting formation. Tophan and Botham before me, Mestet, Mesotatet beside me, Potet, Thotet and Martet behind me. And she's created a protective circle around herself, and the scorpions are guiding her to her son, where everything gets solved in the end. Horus gets healed and everybody's happy and wonderful. So it's I've been looking for the actual source of this to get the proper names of these minions for a long time, and they're actually on the Kemetic stela. And I've been working through translation the last couple of weeks to extract the proper names, and I cracked it on the way home on the train today, and I was surprised really, because I am quite tired. So these things happen, and the excitement of finding that has been great, as well as now I have festival dates for my goddess. I've been looking at other deities that I work with. I work with Thoth, Anubis, and I've got an Isis statue, but I tend not to work with Isis at all. But I work with Hathor as part of my healing process. So just those 4 deities that I've got now. Then I've just added over 40 festival dates to my calendar for the year, and most of those I have to say are Hathor, because she's a bit of a party girl. Like in October I have at least 4 or 5 festivals for Hathor, probably more, and I've got some more later in the year for her. Probably next week I think is another one. I need to check my calendar. I've had to actually put a whole new separate Google Calendar just for these festivals, because it's just exciting, because I've still got no idea what I'm going to do for them, because I've got no documentation on what they actually did. So, you know, as in the spirit of what, as Max says, I make it up, and that's not a problem. You know, I've worked for these deities for a while, and as long as I'm making some time to set aside for them to say, hey, you know, nice working with you, let's keep going kind of stuff, raise a glass or two and a whatever, or a bit of water, or however I want to mark the the time, then so it's important to do this. So, you know, things change. Before I had very little, now I've actually got loads of stuff, and it's possibly going to snowball into a load more things. Just when I thought my path was getting a bit boring, my goddess throws in a few new things for me to look at, and hey, it's fun, I enjoy it, it makes things less boring, you know, change is good. So engage with the Kemetic path, be prepared for disruption and how to deal with it, and make it up if you can't be bothered. So hey, that's the way it goes, and perhaps, you know, I'm going to probably do a few more of these as I go and unwrap a few more mysteries. And of course, I've missed out quite a lot on the notes, so you've got some reading to do too. So let's do a final wrap up on this one. Our hour is almost up. As usual, any questions, anytime, just ask. I may not even know what it is, but I'm happy to discuss this stuff at length, because I could still keep going for another hour. I've suddenly actually woke up a bit more. It's amazing. This has gone rather well, so I'm happier now. So thank you for coming along, and thank you for everybody else out there that's listening to this. This is Kev, and hopefully catch you all again another time. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. It's great. Okay, I'm going to probably wind up with the recording stuff now. Hang on, I've just got to try and dodge with the phone. Okay, right. Okay, actually, before I hang up the recording, if we've got any questions, I can overrun if no one's any particular rush, you know, because I haven't seen the family for like 2 days. Briefly, we've had a few hours together because the wife and the eldest has been off to see a new film, because I was too tired to go. So, you know, I've got to shoot down there again shortly. So if there's any questions now, I'm happy to take them, because I can always add them on to here to the recording. If not, don't worry, we'll be back again soon. Week on Wednesday is the group healing, and then I'm back here in 2 weeks for wherever we are in the current series of visualization. Oh, I think it might be thought forms I'm talking about, so not a problem. And of course, we've got Jen hopefully again tomorrow. She may have recovered from Witchfest too. And Joy, you're doing yours, aren't you, on Tuesday? Yeah, thought forms are cool. Tarot, yes, tarot. So brilliant. Okay, well, no one's obviously throwing questions at me, so I will wind this up and come off chat so I can actually have a bit of ginger beer. I'm not even touching the alcohol because I will just collapse because I'm so tired. But thank you everybody, and marmalade mead. Oh yes, the marmalade mead. I better hang this up before. Yes, I got a lot of that. You're welcome. The two of you who just came in early, a bit late there. The audio recording for this session and the notes will be on the website. There, houseofkeodo.co.uk, or Google my AV name at some point. As soon as I'm off here, I'm probably going to get the notes, and I'm going to get the audio off my phone, and I will throw them on the website. So, astral travel question. Why not? We'll tag this. We've got this on the end. I'm still recording, so go for it. What's the Angie? What's the question? Go on. We may as well wind up with something. Oh, that's good ginger beer. That's non-alcoholic ginger beer, by the way. Oh, yes, that's fire. Okay, right, Angie's still typing. Okay, want to know if feel that diet is important. Yes, Angie, have you been to any of my astral travel-y stuff? No. Okay. Yes. What you will want is to, on my website, top right corner is, well, it's probably, you need to scroll down a bit. It says Second Life, current Second Life notes. On there is notes for all my classes I do here. I'll give you the notes that I do have. They're note cards, and the formatting is shot to bits because, you know, Second Life note cards are really rubbish. But I'll share them here. I'll share them with everybody, you know, because if you've had them before, you can just bin them. But on the website, I have PDF versions. I also have audio recordings from the odd ones that I do here. So I detail it in session 1 about diet, and you know, in short, really, it's all about how feeling comfortable. Of when you're entering a meditative state, you need to have some kind of comfort. So if you're bloated, or you're hungry, or if you've got sort of other dietary requirements that could disrupt a bit of energy work, then you need to sort of work that in. So there's a lot of various bits you need to deal with. So have a nose at that. Again, any questions, come by. For anyone who wants to see any of my statues, and this is, you know, Tutlian will be rather proud of this one, I'm going to throw in the cover of my book that's on my website, the Wolf and Howl website as well. My book, The Path Laid Bare. That photo of the goddess, my scorpion goddess, is on there, is actually of my statue that I have her, which is a reproduction of the one that was in Tutankhamun's tomb, which is a long story of how we met. So that is actually a rather jazzed up, decent, photo edited version of that statue. So I have my goddess on the front of the book that I actually have in front of me right now. And actually I have behind me, above my Thoth statue, I actually have a painting that I did of the statue as well. So I've got her everywhere, and I've got her on my phone, so I don't escape her. Anyway, so yeah, have a nose at those, Angie, and that hopefully will answer some questions. But if not, just ask me. I am always happy to think. So, thank you. That has been really enjoyable. I've enjoyed this more. Really enjoyed this one. It's certainly better second time around. And I'm going to actually be redoing this one again for real at the Staffordshire Pagan Conference in March. So hopefully by then it will be really good. And you're welcome. You're welcome. Do come down to Second Life stuff. It's really cool. Okay, so I'm actually now will stop the recording stuff. Bye bye for those that are on the podcast. So hopefully hear from you at some point.